But thank you for joining me. And maybe just for the audience, if you don't mind just introducing yourself, Andrea.
Hi, my name is Andrea Douglas.
How did you find me? How, because you were one of my first parents that I engaged with, and I'm curious, how did that come to be?
So it actually came up online. I was actually Facebook. Facebook is how it came up as a post. And then I just was curious about it. So I answered whatever I needed to answer. And now we are here almost 6 months later.
What was the impetus for reaching out? What was going on in your son's world, in Cameron's world? Well, maybe we should tell everyone he's is he 13, right?
Yes, 13.
He's 13, he's an eighth grader.
Yes.
So what was going on that had you looking for resources or
So I just feel like as an eighth grader, a preteen, hormones are coming up, also a neurodivergent child, there was some struggles, and I just felt like I needed extra assistance as a parent. I can know the things, do the things, but were the things working? Not exactly. And I realized in his struggles that I didn't want the struggles to be something that was consistent. I didn't want it to continue to go on, so I felt like I had to humble myself and tag somebody in to assist. And that's kind of where we've been. And some of his struggles of like task initiation, being able to do things on his own, be able to follow through. And I think one of the hardest aspects for Cam was him understanding why myself and dad were trying to get him to do things in a moment. He couldn't see.
yeah, I mean, you mentioned like you know the things and you do the things for other people's children, right? You're a social
Mhm.
worker, you work in a school setting, you actually work in
Yes.
CAM school setting. And yet, how do you justify that? Like, it's so hard to, you said humble yourself. And I understand that because I also have a spicy 11-year-old. I'm really trying and I'm trying to use the strategies but it's hard when it's your own kid, isn't it? If you can do it for everyone else's kid, why is it so hard to do it for your own kid?
I think because you have additional levels to it and you have additional expectations. And you can have the professional standpoint, but that professional standpoint doesn't erase your emotional reality. Yes, I can care for other people's kids. I can want the best from it, but it's a different type of emotional tug when it's your own child. And especially when you feel like you should somewhat be the expert and it's just not going right, that takes a toll on you as a parent too. And that plays a role in maybe how you show up for your kid too in those processes, which, as I'm being honest, I haven't always shown up as the best version of myself for what my child may have needed in the moment.
Me either. I mean, guilty as charged for real. And I think it's like, for me, it's also, I just take it personally. Your
Yes.
kid is a reflection of you. Like
Hmm.
I'm raising you. So if you're not acting in accordance with my values, then I feel like I got to do better at raising you. But it's just, everyone is their own person. Like, just
Yep.
because they're your
Yep.
kid, they aren't you, right?
Yes.
Plus, there's another parent involved. Like, and that's what, kids are like a combination of both their parents. So it's a really interesting place to be where you're trying to, I don't know. I had a therapist recently that I was seeing myself, and
Hmm.
um, don't personalize anything was the thing that he kept on telling me. Like,
Yeah.
someone else's struggle doesn't mean that you have to personalize it because then you
Mhm.
make it your struggle, right?
Yes. Yes. And
But
just like a pertinent point you made about how it's a reflection of us, double that for me that I work in the school that
Mhm.
he goes to. And kids look to me for stuff. So then when my child is not acting according or getting in trouble, then teachers look at me like, your child should be the best acting one. And I'm like, no, actually, no. He didn't ask to be in the same school as his parents.
Yeah,
And this is
yeah.
just the reality of
Right. Both
what
of
it
his
is.
parents.
Yes. And you kind of just have to go with the flow. And the expectation is I don't expect you to put more on him than I'm willing to put on him
Yeah.
myself.
And specifically his 12-week goal that we set was by the end of 12 weeks, I'll be properly set up for the day and out the door. And the time allotted was 6:50 a.m. because he's got to get you guys have to either you have to get him to school with you or he has to get the bus.
Right.
But there was a specific target for getting out the door, and really you guys were experiencing a lot of struggles in the morning. And I think that's a
Hmm.
really common thing with the ADHD brain.
Yes. Very
Um,
common.
the mornings are just like, them
Slow
kickstarting their
roll.
brains, right?
I call
So,
it molasses. Molasses takes forever to dry.
and you're so not that way personally,
Right.
you. And so
Hmm.
it's like, come on, come on, come on,
Yes.
come on, come on, come on.
Yes. And then you add that with we're trying to give the urgency. He feels like you're bothering him. So then the attitude gets added to it. And you're like, wait, we went through five alarms. Just get up now. And it's hard sometimes as a parent in those moments to regulate yourself so that you can then regulate the child. And I did, like you said, I had to not take it personal that he's just not trying to give me a hard time, really a natural struggle. So for me, with the plan that I and him put in place, there was things that we had to tweak along the way. Even though it looked great, we still had to finagle certain things for different situations that would happen. And now it's to a point where he's saying to me, "Oh, did I get 3 days in a row? Did I get this?" Because he's happy about it and he feels good about what he's doing. And for me, that's a win as a parent. I don't care if I have to give a little reward here or there. He's learning and he's internalizing where it won't always have to be something equating to a reward.
So I feel like in the beginning, yeses, he was giving me a lot of like,
Mm-hmm.
yes, sir, he was polite,
Yes.
and he was
Mm-hmm.
like giving me the answers he thought I wanted,
Wanted.
but not like
Yes.
the genuine
Mm-hmm.
responses. And then the follow through wasn't there. And I remember you and I, we had our 6 week call, and we're like, we got to do better. Like, like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What it
this is not
is.
what we hoped it would be. And both of us
Yes.
felt that way, because I
Right.
genuinely want to make an impact on these kids' lives.
Saying that was a pivotal part of this program, being able to speak the truth to you for you to be able to assess it and then you divulge it back to Cam. So it took it off of me to be like, you're doing this, you're just saying yes. You were able to say, like, hey, Cam, you've yesed me for these things, but this is what I haven't seen your follow through or your compromise to this point. And you kind of putting the ownership on him because you're a trusted person that he respects. And he was able to hear that conversation different than if it had to come from me.
It
Mm-hmm.
was a pivotal moment. And I remember even saying, like, look, man, your mom invested a lot of money into making this happen, and we're
Right.
investing time, and like, you've got a seat in this class, and like,
Yes, yes.
are you maximizing this opportunity? And
Mm-hmm.
he had to really understand that it wasn't a passive thing that he just had to show up for, but rather, he had to work it. And
Yes.
then I think there was a moment too where you and I had a conversation about incentives, and
Yes.
um, and we all want our kids to be intrinsically motivated, right? We
Mhm.
want them to get to that point where they do things because it's the right thing to do, but yet at the same time, if they don't have that skill, again, the ADHD brain doesn't really do well with long term. They need the
Right.
immediacy. And so we
Mm-hmm.
started to build some feedback mechanisms that allowed him to kind of get what he wanted, but only if he was demonstrating the responsibility that you needed him to demonstrate.
Right.
Could you maybe share how that plan was set up, and then what it actually looked like in execution?
So the way we set up that plan is when we had that meeting talking with you, and then you kind of had all your scripted things about what was the goal. And our goal for Cameron was like task initiation, but that was the initial goal. And then I started telling you about the struggles of him waking up, and then we shifted it to see what can we do for that? What system can we put in place? And that's when you, I, and Cam came up with the system of you need to be up by 6:05. You need to be out of the door. If you're going on the bus, this is the time you need to be out of the door. If you're going with mom or dad, this is the time you need to be up. If you do it consecutively for 3 days with making up your bed, getting up on time, taking your meds, eating your breakfast, this is what the end result would be. Now, I know when we initially did it, it was a little bit more than the 3 days. And then I remember I came in and I spoke to you in a conversation. I said, I feel like we have to tweak it. It's not getting to that point. He's like one day and then it's just over. And and one of the things that parents should know, they don't just change overnight. Like, it's a process for kids to have to take in and they have to buy in. So it had to be something where I was consistent on him, but also he consistently saw Jason and spoke with Jason and the other people where the same things were being reiterated. And a good aspect of it that my son also brought up is hearing how other kids either struggled or became successful with it. So he knew, like, okay, I'm not the only one still struggling, or now, hey, I'm on the bad wagon with the other kids who are successful. So I know his success more came when he wasn't still in the program with the group, but for him, he's getting that reassurance and that praise from me in that process. And it's
Yeah.
making him to feel better. And I didn't even tell you, he had a history test. And you know how we told you he doesn't really know how to study. It's a
Mhm.
struggle for those things. So I remember Thursday night, he said, "Oh, Mom, I got a history test tomorrow. I feel so good about it. I studied in class." I'm just going to be truthfully honest. I was thinking, like, you studied in class. What does that
Yeah.
look like? Oh, God, are we going to get a bad grade tomorrow? And he took the test on Friday. And then at the end of the day, he just casually came into the room and he was like, "I got a 90." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "I told you I studied." And for me, like he got to the point where he knew what he needed to do. He took the initiation on his own because he's very much a kid who could just sit in class and not do it. So the fact that he actually did it and executed and he was happy about it. And I had to praise him because I said, "You did that all on your own. I didn't know you needed to do this. I didn't push you. This is what task initiation is." And telling him, like, this is what we worked on, and you did it in a different capacity. And
Yeah.
as a parent, I was proud to see that come full circle. But I was happy that he was able to see he was able to do that for himself,
And
you know?
society has a what a man is supposed to be,
Right. Hmm.
but yet he's also a boy. We have to remember that. We have to remember to treat our boys with the same love, but they need it just as much, if not more.
Yeah, their emotional capacity is essential for them. And it's almost like just like how you said, it's kind of like how society sees it, where men can't really open up and talk, or it's okay to suppress it. You just need to be tough.
Awesome. So I just want to also talk a little bit about the parent collective because that's another component of core
Yes.
confidence and something that I kind of launched while you
Hmm.
were like kind of getting to the end of the 12 weeks with Cam,
Yes.
and you've been coming to those pretty regularly. And can you talk a little bit about what you feel is the benefit to those conversations? Because again, you're a professional and I'm probably not teaching you things that you didn't already know, but what's the value that you
No,
see in those
don't
times?
underestimate yourself in that. No, I definitely think you do because sometimes in a professional, sometimes we just throw things to the back of our head because we know things, and sometimes we have to bring it back to the forefront. And I feel like that is very imperative when we have that parent group collective meetings, the way it's structured, and it you force us if we don't think about it on a regular to kind of to think about our child in a dynamic and how we want them to be, and also from the perspective of like where could we do better? What
Mm,
can we take on ourselves to be able to make it better for our kid, which is forcing us to do the inside work, which some people don't do because they don't know they need to or they're not forced to. But in those moments, I feel like that collective group is a group where you can be vulnerable with transparency. And it is truly okay. You don't have to sugarcoat what you're going to say. You can literally say what you need to. It's not
mm.
diminishing, but if you want to say, "My kid was running around like a wacko today," nobody's judging you. I understand that was mine
We all
last week.
understand
And
it.
we could
Yes.
all, relate. And I think for me, I really appreciate when you can be in the chat and you put your own life relativeness to us and not like the way you engage with us and you can tell us things in real time and really say, "Hey, this is kind of like what just happened, but I realized," and I'm like, see, that is a good leader who's able to bring everybody together by being transparent about your own stuff. That person, there's nothing perfect. There's no one specific answer. Just stir it. If your tea is hot, you got to stir it until it gets to the right temperature for you to drink it. Or else what happens? You burn your mouth.
You get burned.
So you have to figure out the different dynamics. And I feel like with the parent group, you get different perspective from different people, professional or non-professional. Because when it comes to the point of being a parent, some things about understanding the professional aspects can go through the window because sometimes you have to be in the here and the now. And in the here and the now, it's not going to talk about how you need to do this exact task initiation or the flexibility of this and that. Some of those words are not coming up in the middle of the turmoil.
We can't just put it all on the kid. We can't just say the kid is a
Hmm.
challenge. My kid is difficult. Like, yeah, your kid is difficult. And you have an obligation as a parent to figure
Yes,
it out. You have an
yes,
obligation as a parent
yes.
to say, what can I do? I mean, I would
Hmm.
say it's super helpful for me in those moments to be reminded of what good parenting is and the fact that there is no right answer. The right
Yes.
answer is to lead with love, lead with compassion, lead with
Hmm.
consistency,
Yep.
and accept the fact that life is difficult and parenting is difficult. But that
Hmm.
doesn't mean that we should stop trying our very best to meet our kids where they're at.
Right. How it aligns to what you need them to do and show them by action, it is so much more beneficial.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the
Mhm.
personal ownership that we want for them, right?
Yes.
Well, Andrea, thank you for your time.